And I just realized I don't have that open. There we go. And we should be live any second. Oh my goodness, what in the... I don't know if that's me or you. You turned into like super robot dancing man there for a second. Okay, you seem okay now.
Okay.
All right. And I think that we're live. I can see us there in the thing. If you guys can see us, then, you know, use an emote from our channel and say hello. I think we're live. We got Jerome is here, and Owen, and Kodiak, and that Lloyd Hannison fella. He's okay. Stadia Gamer.
I hear he's
Sednar.
pretty smart.
What's that?
I don't know. I said I hear he's pretty smart. I'm not sure for sure, but I've heard that.
Yeah, I've heard that he's the good-looking one. All right. Well, I think that, yeah, I see our fish there, so people are seeing us. How's it going, everybody? Are you ready to talk about your cat this morning, Lloyd?
I am. We went out. It's still, shopping is still weird, right? Like, you're only supposed to go one person per family and go pick things up, and so you don't really browse. But every once in a while, Karen and I break the rules by both of us going to one of the big pet stores by our place, because there's never any customers there. Like, there's customers enough to keep the store running, but it's never crazy busy. So both of us went in, and every time I walk in, I feel like some security guard is going to tackle me because we came in a party of two instead of a party of one. But we went to get food, and I ended up getting a bunch more Halloween themed toys for the cats, because Halloween's our big decorating thing. So we have like pumpkins that have like a hidden pocket where you can put catnip. We have these wands that have like pumpkins and spider webs, but they're actually like purple ribbons. That's the spider webs hanging off the bottom of it. So the cats are all loving Halloween, even without knowing what Halloween is. It's been fantastic.
So my wife is big into decorating, and since you bring up, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. My wife is big into decorating for all of the holidays, and since we're talking about cats and Halloween and all of that stuff, I'm going to show you what she... How do I turn it on? There we go. She picked this up for me.
Nice. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it says Nerd Nest. It's got a little glowy cat on there.
How the heck?
I don't know.
How the heck did she get that?
Where did she get it?
Like, how did it have Nerd Nest? How did it have Nerd Nest on it?
So there's these websites where you can go and you can customize things that you order. Like, sometimes because my dad will we'll end up getting, like, my dad one of those shirts that says it's a, and then last name thing, and then because, like, he loves that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, you know, it's just one of those websites where you can customize things. Okay. So we call my mom the old bat, is a joke that we've always called her that. And so we got her one that just it looks, instead of having cat stuff on it, it looks like a regular jack-o'-lantern, and it says old bat for her house. And they have all that kind of stuff. If she can find the URL again, I'll send it to you.
Okay, cool. No, I just thought she went into a store and she found something that said Nerd Nest. I'm like,
no.
What? How the heck is that a thing?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that would be really crazy. Anyway, so hopefully you guys are all ready to listen to Lloyd and I talk about video games. Are you ready to talk about video games, Lloyd?
Yeah, I'm just trying to adjust my video a little bit. I wasn't happy with how it looked.
Oh, see, now Lloyd's changing things and I'm not. See what happens there?
Gotta turn down the blue a little bit. There we go. That looks a little better.
Yeah, I'm changing things. I always change things. I can't stop changing things, but that's okay. Let me click on add a stream marker, and we can get started with the show. You ready?
I am. Let's rock.
All right. For those of you here for the live show, I'm going to start adding the music in post and all of that stuff, just because I found a new way to do it, and I like the way it works better, and I think it flows really, really well. And Consino,
dude,
thank you very much for the support. Holy cow, that's awesome.
The best, Consino.
We really do appreciate the support, man. That's awesome. All right, I'm gonna hit record now. Welcome back to StadiaCast. This is episode 75. Before we get started, we record this show live every single Sunday. Is it Sunday? Sunday at 10 a.m. The days have lost all meaning for me. 10 a.m. Eastern over at youtube.com/StadiaCast. What's going on, Lloyd?
Not much, man. It is insane. We've probably talked about this before. I work at a university, so the big crunch is getting everything ready for students. This year is way different than normal years because, well, COVID is in the way. Yeah. But there's still just a crap ton of things to do. And then there's also, hey, we did this last year. You have a week. Can you do it again? I know it took 3 months last year, but can you do it now in a week's time? So there's been just an insane amount of work going on. I didn't get a chance to play video games all week up until Friday night after work. I played Avengers, recorded my final playthrough of the story, and then I played a little bit more Avengers yesterday. So I'm starting to feel a little bit normal, but man, things were crazy. Not anywhere near as crazy as you, because you've been telling me what your schedule's like, and I don't even know how you do a thing.
Yeah, I go into work really, really early, and I record 2, sometimes 3 videos for my students, and then I edit those videos, and then the students come in and I teach and I grade their papers, and then I come home and I was making stuff for Switchcraft, and I've played zero games this week at all. Wow. Like nothing. I think I turned on Bomberman once and I fell asleep, and most of my week after work is I come home and I sit down at my desk and I fall asleep at my desk while editing videos for my students. But I'm gonna get into a rhythm. Right sure. Now it's just everything changed at the last minute that I wasn't expecting, and so a lot of that stuff is going to settle soon, and I'll be able to get back to what I was regularly doing. But sure. Before we really get started with everything, obviously what we've been playing, Lloyd just said he's been playing Avengers. I haven't played anything. If you want to see Lloyd's complete playthrough of Avengers, he made a playlist which you can find at our YouTube channel. And speaking of our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/StadiaCast, we record this show live over there Sunday mornings, 10 a.m. If you're here with us live and you want to make sure that we see your message, use that super chat feature. Now, we've got a lot of news to cover today, so I don't know if we will get to crowd play during the actual show, but rest assured that we will hang out afterwards if need be and answer each and every question that comes in. So thank you guys for the support, and Shrewy just sent in a super chat as well. So use that super chat feature to make sure that we see your messages. Also, if you're here with us either live or not live, you can join the StadiaCast crew by clicking on the join button right down below, and you click that. It's going to tell you all of the ways that you can benefit from joining. All right, Lloyd, are you ready to... We got kind of already talked about what we've been playing. You want to jump straight in with the news?
Well, can I talk a little bit about Avengers? Because we didn't.
But yeah, go ahead.
We haven't really covered it that much on the show after a full playthrough. So I've played the entire campaign, recorded it. It's up, as you said, Bill. It's up on the channel. I have to say, the story of this game is one of my favorite story modes in a video game that I've played in a very long time. It's touching. Miss Marvel and her dad are like the best characters that have been in a story in a video game in a very long time. Like, I absolutely love the characters. I love the interactions between Miss Marvel or Kamala and all the rest of the Avengers. It's just so pure and amazing. That is exactly what we need more of, considering what's happening in the world. Having something that is just so amazing and pure has been just so much fun. One thing that has come up a couple times during my streams is that the game is horribly buggy on Stadia, and I was like, okay, is this just a Stadia thing? So I went and I watched some other streams, excuse me, of some people that are playing on PlayStation Pro, even PC. And a lot of the bugs that I'm seeing on Stadia are happening on other platforms as well. So on Stadia, you can go to the options and you can choose I want better graphics or I want better frame rate. So usually what I would do is stay on better graphics, and then I'd get to a part of a level where it would be like jerk, 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 and I'm like, okay, what's happening here? I'd pause, I'd go to frame rate, and then all of that graphical issues would go away. And it's usually when I'm in that part of the level. So it's whether I'm in like a basement room that I access from the main part of the level, it would get really, really jerky, and I'm like, this is terrible. But then I looked on other streams, and it's happening on other platforms as well. So I've been looking at some of the patch notes. I'm not seeing any Stadia specific patch notes, but I'm hopeful that this will be fixed early on. So after beating the main campaign, it opens up a whole bunch of other story content that you can go through, and it's not really like story like the main campaign where there's cutscenes and huge things, but there's a whole bunch of new content that opens up. And I would say that the content that opens up after you beat the story is bigger than the content that is part of
Oh,
the
wow.
story. So I got my Thor up to level 50, which is level cap. I got Iron Man up to level 50, which is level cap. I got most of my other Avengers up to level 25, so halfway to level cap. And I am just completely 100% in love with this video game. I love the characters. I love the action. I'm a little concerned that after getting everybody up to level 50, I'm going to have nothing else to do, because it suffers from kind of the same thing that the first Destiny did when it first came out, where you've done all the content and you're just replaying it over and over and over again. Destiny fixed that with content updates. We know that the first content update is going to be coming very soon. They said within 2 weeks of launch, which is right around now, which adds a bunch of high level new content to the game, including a new social space, which is a shield base. So I'm hopeful that over time they're going to keep adding stuff to it. We know kind of what the DLC rollout is going to be. We have Kate Bishop is going to be coming in October. It looks like Hawkeye is going to be coming in November, and it looks like maybe Black Panther will be in December. So we know 3 characters that are coming, and we kind of know when they're going to be here. So my hope is that they're going to have big content drops once a month with a new DLC character and a bunch of other stuff that is added to the game. But man, I absolutely love this video game. There's bugs. Justin Lindholm in the chat room is saying I was in a level and it was snowing in the building. Yeah, that happens. That happens every once in a while. If you wear the Captain America skin where he has goggles on, every once in a while, his eyes will just come out, and they'll just be floating around in the goggles. So yeah, there's bugs. There's definitely bugs, but I'm super hopeful that all that stuff will kind of get fixed in time. And I'm just absolutely loving the video game. Merrick in the chat room saying, has the update been confirmed for Stadia? They said it's a 1.3 update for all platforms, but I haven't seen any specific Stadia notes, so I'm not sure. So anyway,
it's kind of weird because like on other platforms, you know that you got the update because you had to sit through the download, and now with
Exactly.
Stadia, you're like, do I know? Like, it would be nice if on the bottom right corner or something it was like 1.3 or something like that. I feel like there's this double standard. You know, everybody is saying how buggy it is on Stadia, but nobody really calls out the other platforms for having the same bugs. It's not a Stadia problem. It's a developer problem, and the developers have and look, this is a wildly complex game with a lot of moving parts, as many games are, and of course there are going to be bugs that are hard to find until you have a large amount of people playing the game. So I completely understand that some of these things are there, but it's funny how everybody complains about how buggy the game is on Stadia, but very few people talk about that when it comes to PlayStation or Xbox or PC.
Exactly.
One of my favorite Twitch streamers, Jebro Unity, he tweeted out that moment when he's not playing on Stadia, but the moment that he saw where Captain America's eyeballs popped out of his head, and like I was watching the clip of his Twitch stream, and I didn't notice it at first. I just saw him reacting to it, and then so I had to rewind and watch it, and I'm telling you, it is very unsettling when you
It
see
is.
it.
Unfortunately, I wasn't recording when I saw it, but it was kind of funny. It was almost like a bobblehead. So when you move, the eyes kind of like trail slowly behind him. Like they're
Uh-huh.
still attached, but it's like they're kind of floating out there and just kind of moving around like they're part of a cape or something. It was just so weird. So weird. But the game itself, man, I like my playthrough in 6 pieces. It's about, I don't know, maybe 12 hours. That's just to get through the main campaign. And then there's a bunch of other content. There's story missions for every character that I haven't done yet. There's a bunch of higher level stuff. When you beat the game, it unlocks a bunch of mission chains where to progress in this one mission, you have to complete a whole bunch of other mission chains to kind of progress on this one. There's just a crap ton of content in this game. A lot of people are complaining because a lot of the content is samey, like you're going through the same sort of missions here and there. But they're gonna do kind of what the Destiny guys did, or Destiny folks did, where they add new stuff to the game over the period of months. This is a game as a service game, so not all the content is going to be there right at launch. But what is there, I'm enjoying. We already know the developers have done stealth patches on the server side, so they've changed item drop levels to fix bugs. So they're really being active and involved. It's not like they just shipped a game and they're walking away. So it'll be interesting to see what happens over the coming weeks and months as we start getting into kind of like the planned DLC rollout. I'm excited because if you've seen some of the leaks, people that are breaking apart the game, doing data mining and stuff, I think there's like 12 or 13 characters that are in the game that aren't in the game.
Nice.
So if all those characters come out, that gives us over a year of content, and then we'll see kind of what happens after that. If they stick to that one character a month kind of rollout plan, where it seems like that's where they're going. So anyway, that's a lot of words for the few seconds to speak about Marvel's Avengers like I asked for. I just absolutely love the game, and what I'm thinking about right now is playing more Marvel's Avengers. So it has its hooks in pretty deep in me, which is great. I was kind of worried playing the beta, but playing the full version of the game just took all that worry away.
Awesome. Let's move on to the news, but before we do, if you're watching this after the fact, go in the comment section down below and let us know what is your favorite character that you've been playing as in Marvel's Avengers on Google Stadia. Moving on to the news, we've got a lot of news to hit today, and we'll see if we can get through all of it. Well, we had the Ubisoft Forward event. I made a video about this, about my initial thoughts. They unveiled a whole bunch of stuff, including Immortals Phoenix Rising is getting, like, Phil Harrison showed up and he said, hey, there's going to be a demo. That demo is exclusive to Stadia. And he said something really, really interesting. All you need is a Gmail account. What do you think about that, Lloyd?
I think that is the way that you get people to play Stadia. You say you don't need to give us your credit card; you just need to sign up with a Gmail account. If that's the way this is going to go forward, if Google is really taken the last 9 months or whatever, 8 months, 6 months, 4 months, whatever the time frame is, to install and create a whole bunch more Stadia Blade instances all around the world, and they can really handle all of that traffic of people just randomly signing up and playing the demo. I think that says some really good things about Google Stadia. But it'll be interesting once this launches. If there's going to be people waiting in lines to play it or whatever, that we'll have to see kind of when that launches. But we already know that it is playable on Stadia because there's been a couple people doing videos.
Yeah.
Plus there was that leak, that was the leak months ago. But there's been a couple people that are recording videos and they're saying, yeah, I'm playing Immortals Phoenix Rising. And every once in a while you'll see kind of like a Stadia logo pop up, or they'll bring up the dashboard by accident. Not one person that is playing it has said that they're playing it on Stadia, though. They just said we're playing an early access slice of this game and record the videos that way. So I find it kind of funny that the Games Press is using Stadia as an easy way to access and play games, but also not referencing Stadia. They're just using it to play the video games.
You know, it's also very interesting, and I think a lot of devs might want to dip into this, and it's because the reason I think a lot of devs would like this is because they can get people to be able to play their game without any data mining able to happen.
Yep.
Because we
Yep.
don't have the actual client on our computer, so we can't look at all of the files that are in there. And a lot of that data mining that you were talking about with Avengers a moment ago is because people have it on PC and they are able to look and see, oh, look at that, there's a hook in here for, I don't know, Mr. Fantastic or somebody like that. They've got
Right.
this kind of stuff in the game, even if the character's not in the game yet. But when you're playing a game on Stadia, you can't data mine because they're only sending you a video of a game that you're playing, which I think is very compelling for developers who want to keep things secret. And as somebody who likes to watch the video game industry, I don't like it when leaks happen. Obviously, when leaks happen, Lloyd and I report on it because everybody finds out about that stuff anyway. So we may as well tell people what we find out, and they can make that decision on whether or not they want to learn about the leaks. But I would prefer if leaks didn't happen and we get to experience all of that stuff in a way that is what the developers intended. And before I let Lloyd talk, I do want to say, yes, we did have Gods and Monsters leak by accident through Stadia, so it's not foolproof, but I think that moments like that are probably going to be few and far between.
100%. It's really interesting from a developer standpoint. If they could say, hey, Bill and Lloyd, do you want to play a slice of our game? And we say yes. And instead of having to give us a code to jump into the game and punch it in and get access to the game forever, they could send us a state share link. And it's like, here you go, click this link. You jump into a specific part of the game that they've given us to, because it's this big boss battle or this new area that they're working on. You play through that content, and then it goes away because it was just a link that we followed to get through it. It's got to be very compelling for developers that are planning on rollouts in the next coming in the coming years, saying, hey, we could use Stadia for this type of stuff. We don't have to create an actual finished demo that we're sending out to people. We don't have to give people access to the game before it's gone gold through like a beta program. They can just give us a state share link, and it fires up an instance of the game that I don't have to own potentially, play through that content, and then that link gets turned off and I don't have access to that game anymore. So it's I don't know, it's got to be compelling for developers out there. And it's just it really is a shame that GDC couldn't go through this year because of COVID, because you gotta know that there was some amazing demonstrations from Google planned to kind of show this stuff off for all the indie and not indie devs out there.
Speaking of things that are compelling, you bring that up. Did you get a chance to watch the video for Riders Republic, Lloyd?
Yeah, it reminds me of Steep on Bikes. It looks pretty crazy, and if it works out the way that they show in the video, I think this could be a fun game for a lot of people, especially on Stadia, because there's no installs, no patches, no anything. You just jump in with 30 seconds, you jump in, play the game, and that's it.
Yeah, this game feels like an MMO version of SSX is the game that came to my mind. But it has like BMX bikes, it has snowboards, it has skis, it has wingsuits. Like they describe it as extreme sports. I can't remember the words that they said, but they described it as a bunch of different extreme sports. But you're playing with tons of other people, and I have like two questions about Riders Republic. When it comes out next year, February 25th, 2021. And that is, if I'm in a race with, we'll say, I don't know, 50 other people, as we're going down this little hill on our BMX bikes, is there collisions? Is there collision detection with the other players, with that many people all kind of in one place? Like, I think that this game this game looks really cool, but I can't imagine having that many people all in one spot. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and they didn't really explain it in the video. Obviously, they just wanted to show off what their tech can do. it looks really interesting. People are saying it's like SSX tricky. It's like Steep, but maybe it's going to be fun. Where Steep, a lot of people didn't really enjoy that game too much. I don't know. I think there's definitely a place for a game like this. And again, if you're playing this on Stadia and state share is a thing, or crowd play is a thing, and next thing you know, people are jumping right into your instance and having a bike ride with you 30 seconds after clicking your link. It's a pretty compelling idea, and it just kind of shows off kind of what Ubisoft is planning with Stadia. Like, it seems like they're all in. When you watch the Ubisoft event, you saw the Stadia logo on almost every single trailer, which is a stark comparison to kind of every other event that I've seen over the last few months.
Right. So then they announced Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, not deluxe edition, complete edition, which is coming out next year. Did you play the original one, Lloyd?
Yeah, loved it.
Okay, so
Loved it.
Tell me about it, because I never played it, and from what I see, it looks like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time style game, or a Streets of Rage style game with, of course, my favorite art style, 16-bit art style. So tell me, what did you think of this game that you've played?
This was kind of the resurgence of kind of the side-scrolling brawler. Like, when this game came out of nowhere, everybody assumed it's going to be trash because it's tied into a movie. It turned out this was like one of my favorite games of the year, the year that it came out. It's the game itself is amazing. It made sense if you watch the movie, because all the boyfriends, the ex-boyfriends are trying to kill you, and you're basically getting into battles with them, trying to get to the end of the levels. It was just an amazing game, and it was way better than it had any right to be, based on it being tied into a movie. It's also been a game that has grown in popularity over the years. It's kind of has a cult following, and it's really hard to play right now, unless you have old consoles and old versions of the game installed. So now we'll be able to play this on pretty much every platform, including Stadia. I cannot wait, because I love brawlers, and this is probably one of the better brawlers that has come out in the last decade or so.
So people in chat are wondering if this is a game that has co-op.
Mhm. I believe it did. I'm trying to remember back. Like, 10 years is a long time ago, but I'm fairly certain that I played this co-op, local co-op. It'll be interesting to see whether the Stadia version does, because not a lot of people have multiple controllers for Stadia, but I can't understand why it wouldn't if it's on all the other platforms. It seems like this is it's not a remaster, because it's old 18-bit 16-bit graphics, 8-bit or 16-bit, not 18-bit. It will play just like it did back in the day, but you gotta think that they're gonna have the 4-player co-op back in the Stadia version, probably with online co-op as well.
Yeah. And then there was an update to the Stadia store. I mean, they didn't specifically say, hey, we're updating the store and now you have this, but now we have this. You can now pre-order games. The first 2 games that you are able to pre-order is Immortals Phoenix Rising, which is coming out December 3rd, and you can pre-order it right now. And I guess there is some DLC, like Fire and Lightning DLC, which comes when you pre-order it. And then you can also pre-order Hitman 3 on Stadia. And it comes with like a white suit or something for your character. Again, so you can pre-order both of those games now, although the Hitman 3 is not coming out until January 20th. What do you think took so long with pre-orders?
I they probably just had to design a system in their store to allow you to do it. Pre-orders on Stadia operate way different than any other store I've seen, because you're not charged when you pre-order. Like, I'm on the store right now. I click $79.99 pre-order for Immortals Phoenix Rising. It pops up a complete your order, give us your credit card info, so I could punch that in. But apparently you're not charged right away. I guess it just puts a hold on your card or
I
whatever.
don't like that.
So you can basically cancel at any time, because there's no money that's changing hands. So they probably had to design a system around that. The Destiny and other like DLC pre-orders is kind of you're paying for a season pass early kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is the first time where there's been an actual video game that you're pre-ordering. So I don't know. I'm excited that it's here. At least we can now get pre-order bonuses without having to buy the game the week after launch. You can actually get it just for pre-ordering, and it will give devs an idea of how well their game is going to sell on Stadia, which is good. Good info for developers and publishers that are looking at, hey, maybe we're going to bring other games if Phoenix Rising sells really well.
Yeah, I don't like the idea that they don't charge me right away. I like to, like, when I spend my money, I like the money to no longer be in my account, so I don't look at my account and think, oh, I've got, like, because you pre-order a game,
Yep.
and this Hitman game doesn't come out until January. So I pre-order this game, and then, halfway through December, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy, I'm gonna do my Christmas shopping, and then suddenly I have $60 less than I actually think I do, which at the end of the day is not really a big deal because I don't get that close to my bank account balance, but it just, it makes me nervous to actually pre-order stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's definitely a different way to do it. The nice thing is there's a countdown right on the store right now that says play this game in 81 days. So we know exactly when it's coming. We know when we're going to be able to play it. It would be nice. Like, I don't know, like if I'm on my Android device, I can use my Google Store credit, my Google Play credit to buy games. On my PC or my iOS device, I can't. And it would be nice if that was unified so that I could say, hey, pre-order it, take $80 out of my Google Play credit that I have, and then it's just gone and I don't have to think about it. Maybe hold the credit card charges for later, but at least do the auto charge or the instant charging if you're using Google Play credit so that you can just load up your account, pre-order the game, have it disappear, and then you don't have to worry about it for the 81 days that it will take for the game to come out.
That would make sense. Kumna in chat is saying, I don't understand how that's a pre-order because, you're not paying for it at the time and the money's not coming out until later. This is really a way. I mean, a lot of people like to just like check a box. I've pre-ordered the thing, check, I'm done. I can move on. And then when the game comes out, it'll show up in my library. I know that there's a lot of people that say, why bother pre-ordering things on Stadia? You don't need to download the game ahead of time. Just buy it on the day. So from a user perspective, I think that people want to do pre-orders just because they like to check boxes. And from a developer standpoint, they would like to do pre-orders because they want your money as soon as possible. And so they entice people by having pre-order bonuses. And if you're not able to do pre-orders on the Stadia store, then it makes it a little more complicated to do pre-order bonuses. We've seen where what's the Breath of the Wild meets Wind Waker survival game that you played, Lloyd?
Windbound.
Windbound. We've seen in Windbound where if you buy the game within the first 2 weeks, you still get the pre-order bonuses. But I think a lot of developers would prefer that you pre-order the game as soon as possible, and it just makes things easier for them and a little easier for you. But really on Stadia, because there's no downloads, it doesn't really matter, if that makes sense.
And the way Stadia is doing it is pretty much the same as all major brick and mortar websites. Like if you go to Amazon or Best Buy, you're not charged until your thing ships.
Exactly. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next story, and that story is all about Apple. We promise we're going to keep this one pretty quick, so stick around, everybody. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, it's time to talk about the App Store. There we go. And I'm just going to save what we've got so far. Save project. What episode is this? 75?
Yes.
75. All right, here we go. And we are back, and it's time to talk about the App Store. Apple recently changed the App Store. And, the headlines, of course, were all Apple changes the App Store to allow cloud gaming. That's the headline that gets everybody, oh, I'm going to click on things. But that's not really, they didn't really make a change in the way that we would want. So I'm going to read a couple of the changes that they actually made. Excuse me. I'm going to read a couple of the changes that they actually made, and we'll talk about them real quick. So if you go to developer.apple.com, you can see all of this stuff. But Change number 3.1.2a says games offered in a streaming games service subscription must be downloaded directly from the App Store, must be designed to avoid duplicate payment by a subscriber, and should not disadvantage non-subscriber customers. So first off, with that, it seems like they're saying every game has to have its own thing, which my initial reaction is, okay, so Square Enix, they make Avengers, they make Tomb Raider, they make Final Fantasy 15, right? And they put each one of those games with Stadia streaming on the App Store. And I think, okay, well, that's a reasonable thing to do. So what do you think about that so far, Lloyd?
I think it's ridiculous because the sentence is games offered in a streaming game service must be downloaded directly from the App Store. Stream and download. If you have a streaming game, you don't need a download. What this is going to force is if Square wants to have, say, the Tomb Raider games included in Game Pass or something on Stadia, they have to make they have to basically sign up for a developer account. They have to create the game and then publish it on the App Store for purchase or for inclusion in a streaming game service. So I'm assuming that they could have some sort of stub program where you download just something that boots up xCloud to play the game. But that's Apple kind of doing enough so that they can't get a class action lawsuit, but not enough that they actually make it usable for companies that want to use this as a way to, I don't know, stream games to people.
Right. And so what I said is it sounds reasonable, even though it's not. So let's move on to change number 4.9. Here's what they said. Streaming games are permitted so long as they adhere to all guidelines. For example, each game update must be submitted for review. Developers must provide appropriate metadata for search. Games must use in-app purchases to unlock features or functionality. Of course, there is always the open internet and web browser apps to reach all users outside the App Store. So this is basically Apple saying, hey, you don't want to follow our rules, make it work in a browser. And that's really what I think that Google is going to end up going with Stadia is they'll just make it work in a web browser. Yep. Here's my question. Because Apple controls WebKit, or it's WebKit that I'm... Yeah, because Apple controls WebKit, can Stadia, can Google, like we've seen that it works in the web browser, but right now you can't actually get your controller to interact with it?
Sure.
Do you think that is because Google just hasn't done it yet? Or do you think it's because WebKit is actively stopping their browser from interacting with an HID compliant device?
What I think it is the way Stadia works, and the reason why you couldn't just open up a Chrome browser on a non-supported device at launch and play with a controller plugged in, is the web browser communicates with Google servers and also communicates with the local hardware if it's plugged in directly. Through Wi-Fi, it's all handled through kind of like the back end. So there's like this framework that kind of runs on between your browser and the servers, and it kind of says, okay, there's a controller connected, blah 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 blah. Having WebKit not controlled by Google, they can't really have that JavaScript stuff running there to kind of see the way that works. So Google could potentially fix that by just having a different way for the server to signal the web browser that there's no controller connected, or that a home button was pushed, or the Stadia button was pushed. So there's probably a way that Google can engineer their way out of this maze that Apple's creating for them. It's just going to take some time. So iOS 14 supports VP9. It also supports a lot of other things that I think the Google browser app would need to have. So it's possible that in the future, you'll be able to just go to stadia.google.com in your Safari browser, or a Chrome wrapper for the Safari browser that may have all that kind of back end stuff kind of pre-populated, or kind of background stuff, not back-end stuff, pre-populated. And then Google can say, if you want to play Stadia on your iPad Pro, you have to download the Chrome app. You have to go to stadia.google.com, and you can only use a controller that is connected over Wi-Fi. No direct plugging in of a controller, or HID or whatever. No using the built-in support for Bluetooth controllers. Maybe this will prevent them from doing that. But it looks like they have a path forward, which they didn't have before. They just have to do it outside of an app ecosystem. They have to do it right through a web browser.
Yeah, and you know what's really funny is that it seems like that's not an option for xCloud, because xCloud does not have the option of a Wi-Fi controller unless they make one. So they wouldn't be able to do that workaround that Lloyd's talking about. Again, keep in mind that Lloyd and I are just nerds in our attics or whatever, and we don't have any inside information here. One more change that they posted on here, and it says streaming game services may offer a catalog app in the App Store to help users sign up for the service and to find games in the App Store, provided that the app adheres to all guidelines, including offers users the option to pay for a subscription with in-app purchases and use sign in with Apple. All of the games included in the catalog app must link to an individual store product page. So basically, they're saying, make your thing a web browser. That's the long and short of it, is that if Stadia is going to run on there, it's going to be in a web browser, and that's all there is to it. There's no other really way around it. Any last thoughts?
Yeah. The good thing is that this change has happened. So this means that Apple realizes that they were on kind of a precarious footing for what their argument is against Stadia and xCloud. They're already going through a big lawsuit with Epic for other reasons, and they probably don't want to have too many lawsuits ongoing. So they're like, okay, let's make some changes. The good thing is there's an appeal process. There's all this other stuff that can happen. So Stadia and Microsoft can get together. They can talk to Apple and say, hey, we don't like this because we don't want to install a 60 gigabyte app in the App Store that people have to download to play. That makes no sense because we're doing streaming. So we shouldn't have to have individual apps with all this other stuff. We don't want indie developer X to have a relationship with Apple for us to have their game in the service. So this could get ratified over the coming months. But it's nice that Apple is at least kind of backed up a little bit from what their initial their initial stance was. It just shows that maybe there's some communication happening here, and maybe in the future, in a few months, when iOS 14 launches and has been out for a while, maybe that will allow Google to have their own app that links to this stuff, or at least just through a web browser, be able to play Stadia on your phone or your iPad Pro just through a web browser instead of having to use the Stadia app.
Yeah, I will say this. Amazon and Apple fought for years about getting Prime Video working on Apple devices the way that would satisfy both of them monetarily. And eventually, I mean, it took a long time, but they came to an agreement. And, when you're talking about giant corporations like Google and Apple, I do think that eventually they will come to an agreement, because Apple can see that there is a subset of their users that want this, and some of those users will leave Apple over this.
Yep.
And Google can see that there's a subset of their users that want to play their service on iOS and that won't leave iOS over this. And so there's a motivation from both companies to find a way to come to an agreement. And if that agreement means that if you buy your game on iOS for Stadia, it costs more because Google is paying the Apple tax and passing that tax onto consumers, then that's perfectly acceptable. That's what a lot of these subscription services do, is they charge more if you buy on Apple, but if you just buy on a web page and then apply it to Apple afterwards, then it doesn't cost you any, it costs you less because they don't have to pay the Apple tax.
And Google and Microsoft still have a big hammer that they can swing if this ever comes to lawsuit, because they can say every every video streaming service doesn't have individual movies that are on the iOS App Store that are linked to from a catalog app.
Yeah.
It's a streaming service, so they can come at it saying, hey, Apple, make these changes. And if Apple says no, we're not going to do that, they can say, all right, we'll see you in court. We're just going to compare to all the music streaming services, all the video TV streaming services, all the movie streaming services, all the internet radio streaming services. None of those have individual things that are loaded on the App Store. We'll see you in court, and we'll let the judge figure this out. So they have hopefully a short way to get this working, but if that doesn't work, then they have the long-term way, which is litigation.
That's right. All right, let's move on and talk about Microsoft has unveiled their prices for the Xbox, the next generation of gaming. Although I think that we've been on the next generation of gaming with Google Stadia for a while now. I think that Stadia is the next generation of gaming. And right now we're just dealing with the ports and not getting the new stuff yet. And I think that new stuff is coming. But, you know, Microsoft, they said this is the tweet. Xbox Series X, $499. Xbox Series S, $299. Release date is November 10th. What do you think about those prices, Lloyd? Do you think that those prices are going to have a significant impact on Google Stadia?
I don't think they're going to really impact Google Stadia, but I think they are going to impact maybe the PlayStation 5 rollout and figure out what their all digital version of the PlayStation 5 is going to cost. I'm sure Microsoft or Sony did want to charge $300 for that thing. They wanted more money for it. So this might force their hand a little bit. I think it's going to be interesting to see at launch if you're going to be able to find any of these things in stores, because the world's a little bit different place from the last time that we had a big console rollout for the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One X. Or Xbox One before the X was out. It'll be interesting to see, but yeah, I think Stadia kind of exists in their own little bubble outside of this, just like Nintendo exists in their own little bubble outside of this as well.
I 100% agree. I saw a lot of people talking about these prices, especially because I think most people, myself included, assumed that the Series S would be $399 and the Series X would be $599. Like that, those are the prices that I assumed that we were going to see. So having these be $100 cheaper, to me was a huge surprise, and I think it's a good move on Microsoft's part. Obviously, they're going to be losing money on every single one of these, but they're going to make up for that money with Game Pass, which we'll talk about in a moment. But when I look at this, I saw a lot of people saying, "Oh, Stadia is dead," of course, because that people say that every week because whatever. But they saw these prices and they said Stadia is dead, and you know, my reaction is, do you not understand that you don't have to buy Stadia? You do not have to go out and purchase a Stadia. Like, I'm putting the A in front of it as if it's a physical thing. You don't have to buy it. It's a free console. It's not dead because something else is cheaper than we thought it was going to be. Because how much do you pay for an Xbox Series X? $500. How much do you pay for a Series S? $300. How much do you pay for a Google Stadia? $0. You get it for free, and you can play it on a Chromebook, and it's I just think that that's crazy. Now, these prices for Microsoft, why can they get this cheap, I think, and why do I think Sony, and I could be wrong, why do I think Sony will be more expensive? Because Microsoft can subsidize this with Game Pass. That's really their like, Microsoft and Sony and Stadia and Nintendo, they're all doing things differently. And that's why they can all succeed. But Microsoft can subsidize this stuff with Game Pass because they have a steady income from their users every single month. But they just raised the price of Game Pass, doubling it from $5 to $10. What do you think about that, Lloyd?
Well, not really. So they had Game Pass on PC, which they had in the beta pricing for, they said, for a period of time. I don't know if they put a year on it or what the actual time frame was. And they're like, we're only going to charge $5 a month when it's in the introductory period while we're trying to test it out. and then we'll announce the full price later on. So we knew that the price was going to be going up. It wasn't going to be just $5 a month for PC. But the price for Ultimate and the price for Game Pass on Xbox hasn't changed. That's it. It's the same amount that it's always been.
Understood.
So it's only the PC version that went out of the initial offering promo price.
Right. But I think that Microsoft made a huge mistake here by announcing the increase of the price in the same week that they said, by the way, EA is now included with your Game Pass subscription, because now everybody is looking at EA and they're like, well, you know what? Maybe I didn't want any EA games. How come I suddenly now I'm paying for them? So I think that was a mistake on Microsoft's part. I saw a lot of people saying, oh, EA comes with Game Pass. That's awesome. Does Ubisoft Plus, and we didn't hear any news about Ubisoft Plus and Stadia, does Ubisoft Plus get rolled into the cost for Stadia Pro? I don't know about that, but I saw a lot of those comparisons happening this week.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I doubt it. I just can't see how you could get a isn't Uplay Plus like $12 a month or $14 a month, something like that. It's I'm in Canada, so the announced price and the real price is always different, so I always get those things mixed up. They're not going to include something that is that cost into Stadia Pro. I just can't see it. If it happens, fantastic. That means that Ubisoft and Google are really working tightly together, and they want to see they want to see the platform succeed. Both together, they want to see the platform succeed. But I'm not going to hold my breath for that announcement. I thought that the Ubisoft Forward event that they just had they were gonna announce Uplay Plus for sure. I would have bet money on it. I'm really glad that I don't bet money, because I'd lose a lot of money because I'm always wrong apparently. I just assumed that it would have been announced. It wasn't, which is a little bit sad. But maybe they're still working on getting a lot of their old catalog content ported over to run on the Google Stadia platform.
Right, and I guess there's a correction. Anders in chat is saying Game Pass Ultimate is the same price. That did not go up.
Correct. Yeah, it's only PC went up by $5. It was $5 for the intro period. Game Pass on Xbox was $10. That stayed the same. And Ultimate, which gives you Xbox, PC, and streaming, is still $15. That hasn't changed price at all.
All right. I was just making sure. I know you said that, but I was reading chat, so sorry.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about the game that I'm most excited for this month. You might think that game would be, the Mario trilogy that's coming to Nintendo later on next week. But the game that I am most excited for this month is Baldur's Gate 3, which comes out in September, or on September 30th. And that game, is going to have crowd choice. We're finally going to have crowd choice, which is something that they showed off at GDC, I don't know when, a while ago. Here's what they said about crowd choice. With crowd choice, a Stadia enhanced feature, you'll be able to choose the next story path and alter what happens during your favorite YouTube creator's live stream. So people will vote, and it will put the little percentages of what everybody wants to happen, which is very, very cool. This feature is also coming to Twitch. I saw some people who were like angry that this was coming to Twitch as well. And for those people, I would say, why does something only have value to you if other people can't have it? But both of these
it's also been on Twitch for years. There's been games that have done stuff like that on Twitch for years. Yeah. So yeah, it's not new.
So they said both of these features are launching day one, that means September 30th, on early access respectively on PC or Stadia. This too is something we're very excited about, not only because it brings the community closer to the player, but also due to the amount of permutations and dialogues and enables streamers to DM their own adventure for their viewers and have their viewers partake in a story regardless of whether or not the viewer owns the game, which sounds really, really cool. What do you think about this, Lloyd?
I think it's great. The fact that it's going to be there day one. That is another Google Stadia feature that we learned about a year ago, which we haven't been able to use. So the fact that it's going to be here is going to be great. I'm excited to have my community do all sorts of terrible things when when we're playing this on stream. They're going to make all the wrong choices, and it's going to lead to just hilarity. So I can't wait to mess around with this.
I'm absolutely excited for this. This is probably going to be my game of the year. If it's as good as I hope it is, I can't wait to play it. And I love the idea of having crowd choice. And while, Lloyd and I just said that it's been a thing on Twitch for a long time where people vote in chat, crowd choice is going to work a little bit differently, because it's going to be baked into the UI of watching a stream on YouTube, which is going to make things so much better. Well, at least that's what they showed us at GDC last year. I don't know. We haven't seen what it looks like when somebody uses crowd choice on Stadia in the real world. But there were a couple of different options where it would pop up and it would say you could vote in chat by typing a thing, or there was like a little poll that would show up at the bottom of chat that you could click on things in order to push things one way or another. So I'm really hoping that kind of stuff, that we actually have the UI baked into YouTube. I have no reason to believe this, but I believe this anyway. I believe that a lot of the things that we're waiting for from Stadia are things that we're waiting for YouTube to implement before we actually get these things in Stadia. But, we'll see.
Yep.
Speaking of Baldur's Gate 3, they also talked about how multiplayer is going to work, and you can bet that Lloyd and I are going to find a way to do some multiplayer gaming. But they said if you're playing multiplayer and your character walks into a dialogue situation, the cinematic dialogue begins with you by yourself. So Lloyd and I are playing. I walk up and I am talking to a character. He's off doing, maybe he's picking pockets or something, and because he's a dirty, sneaky thief. So I'm talking to somebody. It's just me by myself. Now, if he decides to come in close, it will pop up on their screen. Hey, do you want to join in this discussion? And if he does, then he can say what he would like me to respond with when I'm talking to the NPC, which is really cool. Now, maybe he doesn't want to join in because he's busy doing other stuff. They said your party is, of course, free to roam around the world while you independently charm your way through the conversation. They can pickpocket you while you're in dialogue, or cause a fire, or abandon you, or put an end to your waffling and kill the person you're talking to anyway, which that's awesome. I can't wait to do that the first time someone's having a really great conversation and like arrow through the eyeball that you see on your stream, and it's like, you couldn't make that choice, Bill. You don't get your little shiny shoes or whatever you're going after. That person's dead. I can't wait, man. This game is going to be so awesome. And every time they show it off, like the character animations get more and more fluid. They don't look like they don't have dead eyes so much anymore, and the game just looks so fantastic. I can't wait for this to launch. Baldur's Gate 3. I'm so excited for it. All right. Moving on. FDG Entertainment, who are the developers behind Monster. Monster Boy?
The remake
Monster
of
Boy.
Wonder Boy 3, Monster Boy, and the Cursed Kingdom.
Thank you.
I
couldn't remember it. They tweeted out this very interesting tweet. They said that they have achieved. So they were talking about how next-gen consoles, this is very interesting, next-gen consoles, Xbox Series X and PS5 will have 120 frames per second on their game. And so then RackPers said, will Stadia also get this? And they said, actually, we already achieved frame rates of 120 frame rates on Stadia Tech, so it should be no problem to update Stadia to that frames per second once Google updates their video output hardware. So it seems like it's possible that right now the limiting factor for getting these higher frame rates of past 60 frames per second, which I personally don't care about because I don't have any screens that refresh that fast. Well, I guess my iPad, but I can't play on there anyway. But this isn't always about me. I don't have any screens that can do that. But
Sure.
the limiting factor seems like, according to FDG Entertainment, that it might be the video output hardware, the stuff that's doing the streaming, not the stuff that's actually doing the game playing. What do you think about that, Lloyd?
That could be. I don't know of any YouTube video that streams at 120 frames per second. So it might be like a limiting factor on YouTube. So whatever subsystems they have to encode and send this data out really quickly, maybe it just doesn't support 120 frames per second yet. I know you can do 4K 60, but I think that's the highest that it can do, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've never seen it, and I've never seen anybody talk about it. So it might need some engineering work from Google to make this work. But they've said in the past, I think they've referenced 120 frames a second in the future. So
They did.
you know that it's on the roadmap. It's just going to take some time to get there.
They specifically said it when they first unveiled Stadia at that GDC. They said, in the future, 8K 120 frames per second, which,
Yep.
that's one of the things that I don't care about the numbers so much. But remember that when you go from your Xbox One X to the Xbox Series X, sure, you get more power, you get more frame rate, you get all of that stuff, but you're paying a price for that. With Google Stadia, eventually we'll just all get that stuff, and we don't have to buy a new thing, which is very, very compelling. And that's why I think that cloud gaming is the future. We've got two very quick stories to add in here at the end, and then we're going to probably end the show, and we'll talk about all of the crowd play stuff afterwards because we're already at an hour. But Borderlands 3 is getting crossplay on all platforms, according to the Gearbox Digital Showcase at PAX Online. Lloyd, you must be super happy about this.
I haven't played Borderlands since the last time a DLC came out, prior to the last DLC coming out. So I'm way behind in the Borderlands 3 stuff. But the ability to play crossplay would be great. It's gonna make me want to play with my son because he has a copy on PlayStation, on my PS4. So if we can jump in and do some multiplayer, that's going to be fantastic. Cross-platform. I wish every single game on Stadia was cross-platform multiplayer. We need that coming to Marvel's Avengers. It's like stat, because it would be great to play with some of my friends that are playing on Xbox or PlayStation.
Mm-hmm. And then Risk of Rain 2 has officially been announced for Google Stadia. Now, I feel like we already knew about this. Maybe we did. Or did we only think we knew about it because of like an ESRB leak?
Ooh, that's a good question. My brain's not
There's too many
not
things to
working
keep
right
track
now.
of.
Yeah, I'm sure it was shown off, but
Okay.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, there's a trailer that you can watch that is all about Google Stadia, and if you want to find that in the show notes, it's over at runjumpstomp.com, and I'm sure that somebody in chat will let us know the correct answer. I will say this before we move on. We were talking about last gen and next gen. Roger says Stadia is not next gen. It's forever gen, and I like that. It's forever gen. That's pretty brilliant. All right, so that's going to be it for the show for today. But if you are here with us live, stick around, and we will answer all of your crowd play questions and comments that you have sent in. We ran out of time. We want to keep the show to an hour or so. So let's go ahead and wrap everything up. You can follow the show on Twitter at StadiaCast. You can follow me at RunJumpStomp. You can follow Lloyd at Dasme. That's DASME. Be sure to follow us there on Twitter and talk to us and have conversation with us. And if you're looking for over 1,500 other awesome people to talk about video games with, join the StadiaCast Discord by heading to runjumpstomp.com. And while you're already joining Discords, Lloyd has a community Discord as well at rezd.tv. That's REZD.tv. Lloyd, it's been awesome talking to you again, man.
It's fun as always. Thanks everybody for keeping us honest in the chat room. It's always great chatting with a couple hundred of my closest friends every Sunday morning.
Bye, everyone. All right. And I'm going to add the music in post for everybody who's like, what's going on there? We're doing that for reasons. I think that at the end of every show, what would happen is I would start playing the music, right? And then I would like, because I want it to fade in, but then by the end, I'm like trying to shout over the music to make sure that I get everything done ahead of time, and then Lloyd also has to shout over it too. So it's just easier for me to add it in post. So that's why I'm making that change, just to make
Sure.
life a little bit easier.
Mhm.
Let me hit stream marker. All right, we got a bunch of crowd play stuff that came in, and I forgot to open up stream elements so that I can put them on screen. So let me do that now. Lloyd, anything that you want to add while I'm doing that, or just
No,
bam?
just it's awesome hearing everybody or seeing everybody because you can't actually hear their words chatting in chat room about the Xbox is coming out. It was just announced that their monthly deal, like you pay a monthly fee and you get a free Xbox Series X, free in air quotes,
Yeah.
is coming to Canada as well. Like it was only in the UK and the US. Now it's coming to other markets as well. That's going to be like a really compelling way to sell their products come the holidays. Like I may have to do that to replace my Xbox One that I have right beside me with a better Xbox. And the fact that it includes Ultimate, which is already like $20 a month here in Canada, and for $40 you can get the hardware and the streaming service. Um, Xbox is just knocking it out of the park with this switch to the new console generation. It'll be really interesting to see what Sony does to compete with that because, yeah, just everything Microsoft is doing is the right thing. So it'll be interesting to see what Sony announces. They have an event coming up this week,
Wednesday, I think.
yeah. So I'm sure we're going to get the pricing and the release dates and all that stuff.
Do you think
But
that,
maybe not.
they're going to hit the $500 price? Do you think that Sony can do that?
I don't think so. Like, just I don't know. Microsoft has so many agreements already in place with making PCs. They make like Surfaces and laptops and all that stuff. You got to think that they have some cost savings there because of stuff that they're working with other vendors on. And I know Sony has their own stuff as well. They make TVs and cameras and all that stuff. But you just got to think Microsoft's just in the best place right now to make a very low cost console, lose a little bit of money at the start, but quickly make it to where they're actually in the black for the selling of each individual console. PlayStation 5 at $500. You would think Sony would have to be losing like $100+ per unit at that price, and I just don't know if in this day and age Sony can actually can afford that. It's not like PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3 era Sony.
Yeah.
Things have changed a lot with their company.
Although PlayStation 3 era Sony, remember that one came out at was it 700? No, 600.
600. And
600
I was happy.
of $2005 or whatever year it was. I can't remember now, but like if you adjust that for inflation, it was a ridiculous, and that's why they fell on their face and the Xbox 360 did so well.
Yeah,
I don't see.
I was happy to work a second job to pay for my PlayStation 3. I'll just throw it right out there, so that I could flip over giant enemy crabs to hit them for massive damage. Like that was all I was worried about.
So you're going to get an Xbox? Because I'm not sold on getting either of them yet.
I don't know. If anything, I'm gonna want a PlayStation because that's what my son plays on. So it's not going to be at launch. It's probably not going to be in the first year, I wouldn't think. But if I can get that deal and I can get an Xbox Series X for essentially just $20 a month on top of what I'm already paying for Game Pass Ultimate, I don't know. That's super compelling. And then I can retire my Xbox One to the den, give another system for my son to play, and just get more hardware in the house. I'm not sure what I'm going to do, man. But if I can get that deal up here in Canada, it just like $20 additional a month just seems like nothing to get a new piece of hardware in my house that can do 4K.
The subscription is very compelling because you don't have to have that huge cost up front, and you also get the free stuff with your subscription, which that is also very compelling. So
and Fuzhu in just did a $2 super chat. Thanks for that. And that is exactly right. Backwards compatibility. Every single console generation of Xbox is going to be playable on the Xbox Series X. PlayStation has said that some PS4 games will be playable, and they haven't got any further than that. So I have a lot of 360 games. I have a lot of original Xbox games. I have a lot of Xbox One games. Even though Xbox is not my primary platform for this current generation, it was PlayStation. I still have a lot of Xbox games that I can play, plus all this digital stuff that's already just sitting on my account. If I can jump into Star Wars, and then next thing you know, I'm playing whatever new Gears of War game is coming out, or Halo. I mean, that's pretty compelling as well. I think Microsoft did just some amazing things moving into this new generation. They're really being very smart, which is a good thing to see. Competition is going to mean better things for us Stadia players.
Yes, and I'm sure that at this point we've said a lot of nice things about anybody who's not Stadia, so I'm sure that there will be people in here who are going to complain about that. But let's talk about the people who are supporting the channel by sending in super chats and stuff like that, or becoming members. So first off, man, we have all right, so these are a couple days ago, but I hadn't seen them because I've been sleeping at my desk instead of playing games and stuff like that. But we got Forex Fox as a member. Jason McIntosh is a member. Are there any other members from here? No, there are not. So thank you to both of them. At the very beginning of the show, Consino sent in a huge super chat. We really do appreciate that. Shrui, I think I said it right. They said Stadia is the ideal place for multi-platform demos, and I 100% agree with that. I want to see more demos on Stadia where all you need is a Gmail account. I mean, like, if you go back to, I don't know, episode 3 or episode 4, one of our very early episodes, we were talking about that Stadia could usher in the rebirth of the golden age of game demos, where Lloyd and I are both old and crusty. Though, like, back in the day, we used to get like discs and they would have demos on them, and all of that kind of stopped. And I've always said that game demos, if you believe that your game is really good, then you'll put out a demo. And being able to put out a demo without any data mining happening, having it very restricted because of I forgot, what was the thing that they announced that you said earlier, Lloyd?
I don't know.
Where they send a link.
Oh yeah, the stream share.
Yeah. State share.
State share. There you go.
Where they can do a state share instead of having, like, it's going to make it so that people can do these demos that normally the only way for you to do would be by going to E3. You know what I mean?
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Like you were talking about being crusty and old and getting demos. I used to buy PlayStation Magazine and Xbox Magazine and all these things just to get access to the demos, like
in a little plastic bag on the cover.
Yeah, exactly. A previous girlfriend of mine, her dad played a lot of video games, but demos were enough of a gameplay for each game, so he would buy all of the magazines, and he would play like PC magazines and you name it. So I would have access to all of these demos that I would just borrow and install and play. That was a thing back in the day before the internet allowed you to download all this stuff. It's kind of wild that we've come so far.
Yeah, Trev's in chat is saying, I just want family sharing. Me and you and me both. Yeah. Trev's.
Yeah. 100%.
Sukotronic, Ray Sherrod, and Jay Dangle all sent in super chats without any comments. So thank you I mean, I'm sure they probably had a dancing pair or something like that, but I can't remember because it was a while ago. But thank you very much for the support. We do appreciate it, as well as Consino and Shrui for that. Chris sent in a super chat. They said, thanks to teachers like yourself that risk their health every day to teach the students. Well, thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate the comment. And Lloyd, while not a teacher, he still works in an educational place, and he works with university students, and so I think if anything he's probably Like they're a little less well behaved than high school students, I believe, if things on the internet are to be believed.
They're going to parties and bars still,
Yeah.
and it's ridiculous to see all of the people still going out elbow to elbow with other people when there's a pandemic going on.
I saw a video yesterday of this cop pulled up to a house, and he was like, "You got too many people here," and then he took their license and went back to the car, and he's like, "Are you aware that you have tested for COVID positive?" And the kid was like, "Yeah, we all have," and they're having a party at their house.
God.
Idiots.
Yeah.
All right. Jem and Ruben, they sent in some super chats for Lloyd's new camera fund. So thank you guys for that.
Hilarious.
I know, me too. Fuzo said, I just wanted to say that I'm working on a 1 year on review of Stadia, and you all have been one of my most listened to podcasts since I started this. Well, thank you very much for listening, Fuzo. We appreciate it. Jem said 3 weeks to Crash 4 hype. Are you picking up Crash 4, Jem? Is that happening, Jem?
Jem likes Crash. That's news to me.
What about you? I think that we probably say this every week because he keeps bringing it up. But are you picking up Crash?
I'll definitely eventually pick it up. I loved the original Crash Bandicoot games. But yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a launch game. If it comes on Stadia, I'll pick it up at launch.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I will say this: the game that they've shown off on PlayStation that has me most intrigued is Ratchet and Clank. Whatever one that one is, I don't remember, but that game looks fantastic, and I think that that's an exclusive, right?
Yeah. Ratchet and Clank is Sony.
Yeah,
I bought the last 2 generations of PlayStation consoles because of Ratchet and Clank, so that'll get me to buy PS5. Is a new Ratchet and Clank game.
We'll find out on Wednesday if like how much is Ratchet and Clank gonna cost Lloyd?
Yeah, $800 to play Ratchet and Clank. Woohoo!
Oh my goodness, I didn't. Mr. Majorson sent in a huge super chat and said, "Here's to being old and crunchy." Well, there you go, old and crunchy.
I love it.
Cheers, man. Thank you very much. Jem said, "Just put Stadia demo buttons after YouTube game trailers." Yes.
Yep.
Yes,
we've been saying that since day one.
We have, and make it a button, not a link, but yes, a button. You click out, you watch the demo or you watch the video, you click the button, and you get to play the next 15 minutes of that game.
Yep,
that would sell so many games, and it would like, this is one of the things that I saw, and I said Stadia is going to be huge, and like I was streaming on Twitch at the time, and I was recording my Nintendo show. And I was like, Stadia is going to be huge. I'm going to make a show called Stadia Cast. So make sure that you guys subscribe when the first episode comes out. And Lloyd was like, Bill, you beat me to it. And I said, no, I didn't, because you're going to be my co-host. And he said, absolutely. And that's how this show started.
Exactly.
Thank you, Jem. Go ahead, Lloyd.
Another thing that I just remembered to say about Xbox, I know we're Xbox shills here on the show.
Totally.
Microsoft, you know where to send those money hats. But one thing in all the marketing for Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S is Microsoft announced it as SRP, which is suggested retail price, which makes me think that if Sony matches the price, Microsoft's going to say, well, we suggested that, but we're actually going to sell it for $100 less at retail. So thanks, Sony. Because it's not the normal like there's like MSRP,
manufacturer's suggested retail price is what they usually say.
They said this as something different.
They said ERP, I think.
That's right.
What is E then?
Estimated retail price, I think.
Okay,
I think is what it's going to be. So can you imagine Microsoft or Sony comes out and says, yeah, we're going to have the all digital one's going to be $300 and the actual PS5 is going to be $500 and it's going to be available on November 9th or November whatever. And then Microsoft comes out and says, oh, really? Well, we're selling the Series X now for $399 and we're going to have the digital version of S, or I guess the S is all digital, right? I want to say, it's all digital.
Yeah, it's all digital. It's 300. It's got a small hard drive in it.
Yeah, 500 gig hard drive, and they're going to say, yep, that's 250. Actually, that's what's going to be on launch day. So
You can
and
install Call of Duty twice.
Yeah. The good thing is with Microsoft, you can add external hard drives to it. The new tech they're using for hard drives is going to make those really damn expensive. So I think if you buy an S, you're pretty much going to be a streaming game user. Quickly download and then stream through xCloud, hopefully, so you don't have to install all those things.
Yeah, their proprietary SSD stuff. Like if you look at the back of an Xbox Series X, it's a proprietary port. And I mean, Sony's been the ones who have bit people real hard with proprietary nonsense in the past, like memory cards and things like that. And Microsoft hasn't done that yet, but like, why else do you create a proprietary port if not to, like, why not just give us I don't know. I'm nervous about that. Like, they need to unveil how much a hard or an SSD upgrade is going to cost on the Series S before I make a purchase, because it could be way too expensive. And Lloyd is saying in chat that you also have to do the same thing for PS5. They have a proprietary
sort of. They're using more industry standard connections, so you can buy an SSD and then install it, but you need to have a specific class of SSD, which are all ridiculously expensive right now. All that stuff will come down in price. But yeah, you can't just go to, like, we have a company in Winnipeg here called Memory Express, where you can buy cheap things, and I can't just go buy a $79 terabyte SSD and install it on my PS5. It has to be a really expensive SSD, which I don't even think are on the market yet. They're all just theoretic things where they show kind of like the transfer speed and all that stuff. So I don't even know if you can buy PS5 class SSDs now to install. All, of course, when the PS5 comes out, all that stuff will be available, so it will be, it'll be around.
Maybe. I mean, think back to the Nintendo Switch when it launched in March of 2017. They said you'll be able to use up to 2 terabyte SD cards. Those didn't exist for like a year and a half.
Yep, exactly.
All right, thank you. Hussein Al-Faili said in a super chat, 2 super chats. The first one is commenting on the fact that I have hair. So thank you for noticing and the new look. I almost shaved it off today, just because it's getting like, I wore a hat yesterday and it was itchy. And when I wear a hat, it's not itchy when I'm bald. And so it was really bugging me. So thanks for commenting on the new look. He also said, I just wanted to tell everyone you guys missed out on a really fun stream with Jem yesterday. It was full of fun games. Awesome. I was super busy, but hey, you know what? Jem is an awesome community member. And Jem, feel free to drop your URL in chat so that people can go find you if they haven't already. And then we got another one from Mr. Majorson. They said,
Mr. Mojo Ryzen.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I read it wrong. All right. Mr. Mojo Ryzen said, say it, Mr. Mojo Ryzen. Come on, you're old enough. Think the song by the Doors song. Okay, I got you. I'm with you now. Sorry. Sometimes I just, you know what I thought it said the first time I read it? Lloyd, can you guess what I thought it said the first time I read it?
No. He has
Mr. Major Nelson.
Mr. Major Nelson.
Because he's got a green icon as his name, and I thought that like he was an Xbox fan or something, because it said Mr. Major Nelson is what I saw when I read it, because things fly by real fast. But then I was like, oh no, it's Mr. Major Sin. Oh, okay, I get it now. Well, now I know. Mr. Mojo Ryzen, that's what we will call you. Until I forget, and then I will call you something else. And don't take it personally.
Bob.
All right. Well, I think that does it for us today. I want to say thank you to everybody who supported the stream, became members, sent in super chats, watched us hang out here live, and commented and stuff. You guys are all fantastic. We really do appreciate it.
Yep. Exactly. No, it was great chatting with you all. You all are beyond generous with your time and funds to support what we're doing here. Appreciate each and every one of you. Thanks for coming out, and yeah, hopefully we can do some streams once school kind of slows down a little bit. I want to do some Bomberman stuff because I just want to play that game more. I've only played it a few times, and it's been a blast. Ha, pun intended.
Oh no, Lloyd. No, no, no.
I said it. I said it. It's a thing now.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Later.
That's the wrong button.
It
There
works
we go.
though.
Bye.